G'day, Warpstone enthusiasts, AoS coach here, and welcome to the very first talking series from 4th edition Age of Sigmar. We are coming to you just before points are being released, but your faction pack is out. So we are going to talk all things about Skaven, our experiences, and my guest and I have actually been playing with this in real life. So my guest not only is a wonderful Skaven player who we've been playing together for a while now through 3rd edition, but also he and I have been putting in the reps in the secret dungeon of my house, the dojo. We've been battling it out, Stormcast versus Skaven, and we're going to leave Stormcast to the side. But my guest, Bruce Phan, wonderful player, love playing with him, one of my locals. We've played a lot through 3rd edition, travel to tournaments, play on the casual Thursdays. But I've been able to bring him into the fold a little bit in advance of 4th edition being available to everybody, putting in the reps both for Spearhead. So you've got some experience with Spearhead, as well as 4th edition Age of Sigmar, playing with various war scrolls, playing with various factions, mixing up the lists a little bit. So I think my guest is in a great position to share a little bit of thoughts and opinions. And apologies for the potato camera. We had a little bit of technical issue before we started recording, so bear with us. Don't look as good as I normally do. So sorry for that. But Bruce, welcome. Share your thoughts, where you come from, why do you like Skaven, who are you, and what's the best clan?
All right. Thanks for having me, Coach. So I've played Skaven pretty much through all of 3.0, Age of Sigmar. My favorite clan would be the Molder clan, actually. Molder, and then Scryer and Verminus about on the same level. I'm not a pestilence guy.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I've never seen you play Pestilence, but I remember one of the first lists that you played. You were repping the Hell Pit Abomination, and you've always been committed to Molder. You've always been playing around with the Rat Ogres, and I'll never forget some of the games we've had in the past where, like, my Stormcast chariot has charged into your little Master Molder. I'm like, I'll leave him alone for a little bit, and I'll target these Rat Ogres, and then you scurry away, and then you pin them back. We've had a lot of good stories, and we've got a Hell Pit Abomination story for 4th edition too to share. My gosh, I hate that thing so much. What a jerk! But
I love it.
Look, what's your thoughts on Skaven so far? Given that you have spent a lot of time on 3rd edition, you have played around with a lot of different lists. You have had some time looking through the faction pack. We have tested out a few lists. How are you feeling so far going from 3rd to 4th?
I think Skaven has changed, but I think it's a great take for all the Skaven enthusiasts and for all those Warpstone addicts as well. So we're still, as a whole, like Skaven, so we don't have high armor save, and for how Skaven's played now, where we have recursion, so that's the great thing about it. So, like, one of the only chaos factions that have recursion, and I think there's a bit in every single faction, and everyone will love it.
We will bring up the rules and we will talk about it. But so far, what I'm hearing is you're 3 games into match play, 1 game into Spearhead with Skaven. You've enjoyed your journey so far.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it. There's so Skaven, as always, we have a shooting aspect, we have a fighting aspect, we have a more an elite aspect. That there will be a list shown later for that, and there'll be a horde aspect as well. So, like, we got all the little bits we can shoot, and we can just have the bodies.
If I was an experienced Skaven player from 3rd edition, how different would my army feel? Like, does it still feel like Skaven? Obviously, there's been rules adjustments, and the game as an overall has changed. But does it feel still Skaven-y based off your experiences so far?
It definitely does feel Skaven-y. Like, so for example, rat ogres or hellpit abomination, we can't. There's no ability where we can choose them to be 4-up save anymore. So we're more like the true. We're playing more of a true part of Skaven where we're just squishy, and there's just so many bodies, so much Skaven. Got to deal with them. But the fact that we have the bodies and we have recursion, it's difficult for other factions to try and outplay us. But there'll be an aspect in where we will feel a bit more squishy compared to 3.0.
What about the 4th edition changes in general? We've had combat ranges now come in, so there's no 1, 2, and 3 range weapons. You've got different command abilities, whether it's the addition of things like magical intervention or countercharge or power through or losing unleash hell. You know, we've had so many little changes that have happened throughout the game. And obviously, if you don't know who the changes are, folks, there's a video where I go through literally all the key changes in 4th edition. But how have you found that coming over? Like, have you found some things, even Battle Shock, right? That's probably what I was meant to say as well, is the fact that you've lost Battle Shock. I know when the Screaming Bell used to have Battle Shock immunity, and then when you lost it, everyone got annoyed, and then everyone started looking at the Plague Furnace, and the horde of rats kind of completely disappeared because it was so hard to keep them on the table without running away with low bravery. So I guess what I'm asking is, like, how have you found the core 4th edition changes to Skaven, and has that unlocked opportunity? Has it given you new ways to play? Like, what has it meant to you?
Yeah, so the difference between them would be that everybody just has to accept that the iteration of 4.0, all the damage has been reduced, and so the elite factions would be hitting like 3s on 3s, maybe 2s on 3s, something along that lines. But Skaven, you just have to accept that we're like 3s on 4s, sometimes 4s on 5s, but there's benefits here and there. Battle Shock, everybody loves that there is no Battle Shock anymore. So, but with the Screaming Bell now, the Screaming Bell would have an aura of a 6-up ward. So having blocks and blocks of bodies would be very good, and there would just be so much recursion for that.
What about some of like the new command abilities, whether it is, magical intervention, being able to cast or prayer in your opponent's turn, whether it's cover fire. And I know you were playing around with some fun little abilities to be able to shoot without penalty. There's obviously, as you mentioned, the counter charge as well. So getting those rat ogres in combination with is it always 3 claw steps ahead? Like, there's already this little list teching that we've started to build, and it's only been 3 games.
Yeah. So everybody going to 4.0, I think they'll have to wrap their head around that you only got 4 command points for the whole round. So, and those 4 command points, you can literally, there's so many things that you want to do, and sometimes in the battle, in the combat phase, you just need to know that you either will have to use all-out defense to try and keep your unit up, but then you'd like to redeploy, and then you'd like to countercharge, and then you'd like there's literally and then magical
Intervention.
magical intervention, like that is so good. So we have Warp Gale, where it can select an enemy unit up to 18-inch to strike last. Like, strike last is so good.
We can talk about this story with Indrasa,
Yeah.
right? So Bruce and I in our last game, Indrasa. So story, first 2 games that Bruce and I have played, Indrasa has one shot at essentially the Verminlord. You've had different Verminlords, but in one turn, Indrasa has deleted, whether it was bodyguarded with your storm vermin with wards, or you've had all these stuff, right? And then game 3, you were able to make me strike last, then scurried away, and then the Hell Pit absolutely just came in and slapped Indrasa, which was super annoying. But Warp Gale, I've got a lot of respect for. And something you didn't mention that I think is impactful at this point as well is I remember there was a particular turn that we were playing, and you would burn out your command points, and you couldn't use your Gnawhole recursion because you'd run out of CP. So CP management is really critical because there's a lot of good options. It's knowing which ones you've got to use and which ones are nice to have. Have you found that as well?
Yes. So pretty much, depending on whether you go first or second, you always tend to have a pocket 1 CP just to bring back a unit. Indrasa, yes, she gives me nightmares. She's like she
What'd you
claps.
call her? The ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, the ex-girlfriend. You just never want to see her again. She comes back to you in life and she just destroys you. But yes, Yggdrasil just one-shots my Verminlord each time. But there's one game which she didn't. Which
Not the third. The third
yeah,
game you got revenge for the
yes.
clans.
No, we'll explain Scurry Away a bit better, but it was pretty cool. Yeah.
And we will bring up the rules. We will bring up the lists as well. But like basically, what I'm hearing from you is you've enjoyed the process so far. Coming from 3rd to 4th edition hasn't been too much of a change. There's you're still enjoying the game. Skaven is still Skaven, and there's new stuff to do. Like, is that kind of like the summary, or anything else you'd add?
Like everybody that has a Screaming Bell, that has stocks in Screaming Bell, like you still have it. You still have a lot of fun with it because you would have 6-up ward now, and having 6-up ward on like 40 bodies of clan rats would just be fun, like just in general.
So a couple of questions from Discord before we get into the rules. First one is there good internal balance in Skaven? How does the army play? And from a high level view, the limited information, because obviously they only know what's in the Warhammer community article at this point, and people now listening to it, you probably have your faction pack. It seems to be a control army that leans into shooting. What are your thoughts? So what's the internal balance like? How's the army play? And is it a control shooting army?
There is shooting. There is shooting to the cause because the what's that new rule called? It's not
Cover fire.
Cover fire. Yeah, cover fire is so good now. So there's always like a CP that Skaven opportunists would use. You have Storm Fiends. You have Jezzails. Like if they're in range, just use it, and then you get to shoot somebody, or at least the closest unit. Where it just depends on the build, that the list that you're building. You gotta we have to remember that the objectives are smaller now. So if you shoot something, then you won't be able to get onto it. So if you're gonna go full shooting, then you go Clan Skryre, the Clan Skryre faction. And if you're gonna go bodies, then maybe you want to go Verminus. So you'd have enough bodies, and you'll be relying on a high number of attacks to get through to your enemy.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things like was it your clan rats have crit auto wound? I can't remember what it was.
Auto wound, 2 attacks each.
So even though you are hitting on, was it 4s, wounding on 5s, like the if you can get, the 2 attacks each or something. So there's ways to get around certain things. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, at least for me, as someone who's played against you often, and obviously other Skaven players, and seeing, it does still feel like Skaven. It feels like the things that you really enjoyed back in the day, whether it was Storm Fiends or Rat Ogres or Clan Rats or your Jezzails, like all the things that you used to run seem to still have a place. Maybe not we haven't really played around with Pestilence too much yet, so the people who used to love their Globadiers and things like that, I don't know, I feel like maybe they'll get some love. They might get some love in the battle tome.
I think Pestilence, hopefully there'll be more models for the Pestilence faction. Hopefully more models for the Eshin faction too. But right now, if you do have a lot of pestilence, the sub faction for pestilence does look good, and how prayers work now is very reliable. Yeah.
All right. Before I bring up the rules, I've got a final question. What is your favorite Warpstone recipe? Now, interpret that how you like.
Oh, Warpstone recipe. Like my Warpstone recipe is like every game I would like to have a Hellpit Abomination. Like that's my boy. I love that. I love that unit. It's like that MSG that you're always gonna bring to the table.
I like to cut mine up with a credit card and snort it, but no.
Jeez.
That was the joke. Like how do you like your Warpstone? All right, let's get into the proper rules, and we've been messing around too long. So we have our battle traits. So there is as a faction, you're going to get a bunch of things. I'll read things out one at a time, Bruce. You can then kind of share a little bit about how you're thinking about these things. First off, you have the Lurking Vermintide. So pick a friendly Skaven unit that has not been deployed. You can set up that unit in reserve in the tunnels below. It's now been deployed. So you can basically deploy things in the dirt.
Yep, exactly. So it's just like a Stormcast. You put one on the field and put one in dirt.
How have you seen this rule so far? Like, do you put a lot of units into reserve, or are you like how are you
So
thinking
like
about
pretty
this?
much if you have like delicate units like a reinforced Jezzails, like you put them in the dirt so no one can shoot them. Or like Storm Fiends, put them in the dirt, no one can deep strike them or no one can get to them straight away. I think it's great because the fact that they come out of the tunnels, and the tunnels are the Gnawholes that now can only be set up wholly within your territory. So based on how you set them up, you can like put them straight on the point, or just put 3 Gnawholes like right next to each other, and kind of make a line, force the opponent to like break them. Yeah.
And we will talk Gnawholes and what that terrain feature looks like. Although it's not quite like Stormcast, where it's not 1-for-1 or something. Like you could essentially null deploy your army if you wanted to, right? Because it's not
Oh wow.
it doesn't really have a restriction here. It just says pick a friendly Skaven unit not been deployed, set up in reserve. It doesn't say for every one unit on the table you can put one in the sky. So you've got, I mean, obviously, by the way, folks, we are recording this before any FAQs or erratas. So some of the things we might say may have been changed or adjusted, but this is what we currently know. So put some things in tunneling. And as you mentioned as well, Gnawholes have changed slightly. So you're not putting them in opponents' territories anymore. So you're putting them in your friendly territory, and we'll bring up more in a minute. Obviously, in combination, you've got the Gnawhole Ambush. So pick a friendly Skaven unit that is in the tunnels below to use this ability. Set up that unit wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Gnawhole and more than 9 inches from all enemy units.
Yep, that's 101 Gnawhole. Same, very similar to 3.0.
I guess the challenge is, as we've mentioned, you are in your territory, right? So depending on the deployment map, being within your territory within 6 inches of a Gnawhole and 9 inches from enemies, especially if you go second, if your opponent is fast, they can zone you off pretty quickly. So, just have a think about that. Or if you're going to do it, think about why you're doing it. But cool options. Splintered of the Vermin Doom. So once per battle, per army, I guess. So once per battle round, start of the battle round, you can use this ability if there are fewer than 3 friendly Gnawholes on the battlefield. So we know that terrain has a health characteristic, so you can destroy a Gnawhole, and you can set up a Gnawhole on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units, more than 1 inch from all friendly units, and more than 3 inches from all objectives and other terrain features. So if I destroy one of your Gnawholes, you can bring it back.
Yep. I like this very much. So pretty much, so we have 3 Gnawholes, and you'd probably put 2 Gnawholes on different objectives, 3 inch away, and then you would have 1 Gnawhole like really aggressive. And then if your opponent does take that out. Now this new Gnawhole can be set up anywhere on the battlefield. Yeah.
So it's almost like if you encourage them to destroy one of your Gnawholes,
Yeah.
you can now put it in your opponent's territory, where previously when you're deploying them, you don't have that option.
Yeah. Yes. Please destroy the Gnawhole.
I haven't destroyed one yet. I've certainly destroyed your endless spells, but I
Yeah.
haven't actually targeted. I've tried to zone you out, but I haven't destroyed one yet. So I haven't actually seen this in play. We'll do it next time. I'll see what I can do. The rule that people are super excited about, and one that you've used really well against me, is always 3 claw steps ahead. So once per turn, in the enemy hero phase, you can pick a friendly non-monster Skaven unit that is not in combat and was not set up this turn to use this ability. That unit can then use a normal move ability as if it was your movement phase.
Yes, this is a great ability. We're able to move a singular unit that's non-monster. So unfortunately, not your Verminlord or your Hill Pit Abomination. But so you'll be able to move its movement characteristic, and then with all the abilities that you can use, spending your command points to work in your opponent's phase, it could feel like you're having a phase in your opponent's phase.
It's true. There's been plenty of things that you've done. It's allowed you to get closer for the counter charge, which has been great, or it helps you prepare for a redeploy. I remember one of the first games we played, you were really worried about my Fulminators coming at you. So you actually used it to retreat away to make the Fulminator charge harder. But then you've also used it against me to get closer to an enemy, and then get onto an objective. There's a lot of really interesting play here, and it then throws my movement phase off because you're doing it before I go into my movement phase. So things that I was planning to do, I'm like, oh wait, now I can't do it, or it's made it a lot harder.
Yeah, exactly. So you in the movement phase, in the hero phase, I retreated them back away from the Fulminators because I didn't want to get killed. And then because I announced redeploy, I get to see him move first. So he would move up, and the Fulminators couldn't reach my Stormfiend, so they went somewhere else. So when I decided to act with my redeploy, I moved them back forward.
Yeah, you actually moved them back. Then I moved, and then you moved in front of me. So it was super. There was some really good play very early on, which
I moved them out safe, and then I moved them back in so that eventually I can get back into the fight. Yep.
Is there any other ways that you've used it? Like you've used the clan rats to move up the flanks and help you score some of the battle tactics, or to start challenging objectives earlier? How else have you used this ability?
Yeah, so pretty much for another throwback, but pretty much my master molder was not in a good position, and then I retreated him 6, and then because I had a Verminlord Warpsea, it's +2, so I retreated him 8, and then suddenly he's behind my battle, like my rat ogres, and he's safe again.
Yeah, some really good repositioning abilities or counter abilities, right? Whether you want to go for the counter charge or you want to move away and make the charge even harder. So nice tech there. The other one is a fun one. It's been annoying for me. Is the too quick to hit. So no, this is a passive ability, so you don't have to declare it. It's just literally whenever you a Skaven infantry or cavalry unit retreats, you don't take mortal damage. So if you retreat now in 4th edition, you will take D3 mortal damage, except Skaven infantry and cavalry, where you don't take that damage, which has been nice for your clan rats or your rat ogres, or there's a lot of things. Your heroes are infantry. I know it doesn't make sense, but a lot of the small heroes are infantry. Your claw lord is the only little claw lord on the null beast is the only infantry, right? Like you don't have other infantry.
His infantry, and I think his cavalry as well, because he's on a mount.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very good. He's fun. I think the new rule where you take D3 if you choose to retreat, but for Skaven we have this ability, of course. I think that's great. I think it's a very good rule. It's like your retreat isn't free. You have to take some damage. But for us, like for Skaven, this only applies to like your Hell Pit and your Verminlords because they're monsters.
So they're the
Yeah.
only real exclusions. Otherwise,
Everything else is like pretty much infantry. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, except your war machines. So obviously your warp lightning
Uh,
cannons and some
yeah.
of those things. But
Mhm.
what majority of your army is going to be probably having the infantry keyword.
Yeah, a lot of it's gonna be infantry. Yeah.
Yeah. Good set of rules. Like you felt well supported so far as a battle trait, or is there things that you've missed so far?
Yeah, I do miss my old abilities, but like yeah, like boohoo. I guess this is but so far this is great. Like this is all very good. Always 3 claw steps ahead is pretty much a big game changer.
Yeah, that's a really good role.
Mm.
I've been very jealous actually when you've used it. So I'm like, I hate you. Like this is such a good rule, and because my Stormcast hero phase is so small, sometimes you're doing more than I am. I'm like, I hate you. Like let me have my turn.
Yeah.
So we have these things called a battle formation. So battle formations is essentially your sub factions. Now I know Skaven was a little bit weird before, where you didn't have a sub faction. You just basically had the rules where if you had one keyword, you got this ability. If you had three keywords, you had this ability. Basically, now, folks, what you do is you need to pick one battle formation. And to no surprise, you're going to see a Scryer one, a Molder one, a Pestilence one, and a Verminous one. So there's 4 different options to choose from. It doesn't mean that if I pick the Scryer one, you can't pick Molder units or Pestilence units. It just means they're not going to get the benefit. So pick whatever's going to work for you. Let's talk Scryer first. So once per turn in your shooting phase, you can pick up to 3 friendly Scryer units to be the target. Roll a dice for each target, and then on a roll of a 1, they'll take D3 mortal damage. On a 2 to a 5, you get to add 1 to the wound roll for that shooting attack for that turn. If you roll of a 6, you get that +1 to wound, and in addition, you'll also get +1 rend on that target unit's ranged attack. So you have played around with Scryer a little bit. How have you found these rules?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's good flavor. Pick 3 Scryer units. It's very pick 3 is very similar to the 3.0 ability. Um, we did miss our old ability where it's like the like during our turn we're able to select up to 3, and then the old ability is it's +1 to the damage characteristic, but this is instead +1 to wound. Yeah, but this is great. Yeah, it's good flavor. +1 to wound is great.
Where have you used them? Because you've played around with the Jezzails, you've played around with Storm Fiends, you've played around with the new the new, what's it called? I've
Warp
forgotten
fire
the name.
thrower. Yeah,
The
warp fire
Warp Fire
thrower.
Thrower. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you've played around with a bunch of shooting units in your time. What have you found this has been really impactful towards?
I think if you're going Storm Fiends and more shooting like the Jezzails, this is a very good like battle formation to pick. The um for the question before, like what are your stonks on? I'll put it with Jezzails. Jezzails are very good. They're like long strikes but cheaper.
Long strikes have changed for the worst. Well, not the worst, but the range is 18. I'm like, what on earth is
Yeah.
this?
Well, we feel more
Uh,
like long strikes now. Yeah.
yeah, like there's some really interesting war machines, right? Like the rattling warp blaster having 3d6 +3 shooting attacks and having crit auto wound, and it hits on 4s, wounds on 3. So if you can get a really good dice roll on that, range of 20, you can belt out a lot of damage from that rattling warp blaster.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a love hate model. I think those who are very addicted to gambling would love that model indeed. Yeah, like when a hero is next to it, you must use the new profile, which is I think it's 6d6 or 3, like something along those lines. And
The
yeah,
blaster,
the
it's
blaster.
it's
Yeah,
it's 3d6.
yeah, it's normally 3d6, but then if there's a hero next to it, the profile changes to like something absurd. Yeah.
Where
Um,
was it? where was it? Add 1 to hit rolls if you're attacking a target enemy unit with 10 or more models. The other one is if there's a unit within combat range, so within 3 inches of a scry hero, the shooting attack is 6d6 plus 3 instead of 3d6 plus 3. However, for every unmodified hit roll of a 1, the unit is going to suffer 1 mortal damage, and it only has a health characteristic of 7. So you are definitely gambling there.
Yeah, definitely. So you can make it can be your day or it can be your opponent's day by just blowing yourself up. But yeah, so it's good flavor though.
6d6 plus 3 is pretty tasty.
It's pretty tasty. You plus 1 to wound and then add 1 to the rend. Like, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt someone.
This won't really benefit though the warp lightning cannon. Like when you look at the new warp lightning cannon, I don't know if you read it. I read it this morning on the train. I read it on the train and I felt a little disappointed. I'm like, like it was so rocks and diamonds. You roll a 1 and you're so happy. You roll a 6 and you're like, I hate this unit. Now it's more consistent, but you don't get the peaks and the troughs. So pros and cons if you're someone who used to like just fishing for those 1s and 2s.
The warp lightning cannon's still nice. I think what is it? 2d6? Is it 2d6 characteristic?
I'm looking for the war scroll. Yeah, it was like was it? I was looking for the war scroll. Rattling gun, warp lightning thrower, Jezzail's, doom wheel. Somewhere. A warp lightning cannon. It's range of 20, 2d6, hits on 4s, and then the kind of the sequence ends, right? So basically, for every roll of a 4, you'll deal, is it one mortal damage? Each attack's So basically, on a roll of a 4 up, you do 1 mortal damage, but then
So the skew is the 2d6, right? But the good thing about it is that if you choose to all-out attack, it becomes 3. You're looking for 3. So looking for 3s to mortal wound is pretty nice. And if you bring a vermin king and then do the scry ability where you get a free aura of +1 to hit for scry units, there you go. Plus 3+ to hit.
And it also has a similar rule as well, where if it has a scry hero within combat range, you add 6 to the attack characteristics. So it would be 2d6 plus 6. But the same deal, if you roll a 1, the warp lightning blast would actually take d3 mortal damage. So gamble away, my friends.
Gamble away.
All right, so that's Scryer. Scryer feels like Scryer things. There is no Warpstone tokens anymore, so ignore that, Scryer folk. Sorry, they're kind of built into the War Scrolls and things like that. So that's your rules. You've then got your Molder clan. So once per turn in your hero phase, pick up to 3 friendly non-hero Molder units to be the targets. Roll a dice for each of those targets. On a roll of a 1 to a 2, they will take d3 mortal damage. On a roll of a 3 to a 4, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons for that unit until the start of your next turn. And then a roll of a 6, you get that benefit. So roll of a 5 to a 6, you get that benefit and also a 5-up ward. Now, we played this last weekend and you rolled a bunch of 5s and 6s. So all of a sudden there were these 5-up wards and +1 attack on your Storm Fiends and your Rat Ogres. No, was it your Rat Ogres or your Hell Pit? I remember one of them failed and took some damage, but you had a reinforced unit of Storm Fiends with a 5-up ward +1 attack coming at my face.
Yeah. So this subfaction, this battle formation here is it's got more variants. So 1 or 2 you take damage, 5 to 6 bonus, But so I would say one of the best units here would be either Rat Ogres or Storm Fiends. So they're very good. So there's a big difference between the old Storm Fiends in 3.0 and the 4.0 Storm Fiends. The 4.0 Storm Fiends feel better punching, funny enough. Rat Ogres are Rat Ogres, they're very nice. Unfortunately, they're not 4-up save anymore, but they're 5-up. And If anybody out there that's gonna do a screaming bill and nothing but rat ogres, please tell me how it goes, because that sounds nasty already.
Were Storm Fiends available to mold the last book? I always think about them as Scryer units.
It did have the subfaction keyword, but in 3.0 all the molder units were buffing each other through a different keyword called fighting beast. So
I just don't remember
rat
them.
ogres were fighting beasts. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't remember Storm Fiends ever really being a part of a major plan around Molder, so that makes a lot of sense. So it's great that they've got both keywords, so they're versatile between the two, whether it's Molder or Scryer. And based on your experience, because you've done both, you've played Storm Fiends in Scryer and Molder. What's your favorite build?
My favorite build so far would be a more balanced build. I think the internet would say for the Storm Fiends that they would do Tunneler, the Warpfire Thrower, and the
Shock
Shock
Gauntlet?
Gauntlets. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Shock Gauntlets are better, to be honest. I think the internet might go against me for this, but the fact that Storm Fiends are hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, it's actually pretty insane. So if you're rolling like 4 dice up to 8 dice, if you have more Shock Gauntlets and there's any 6s, then they are now rolling. You roll an additional d6, and that's for your wounds, and now you're just looking for 2s only. It's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of damage to Magro.
He has. He's hurt me in a few spots. Although the Hell Pit will still always remember that. Although my Fulminators did lift them pretty heavily as
Yes,
well.
they did. They did so much damage.
So Bruce and I'm on 2 wins. He's on 1 win, but his was the most recent, so the wounds are still healing. But it's been fun. We've been exploring a bunch of things. But anyway, we're kind of like digressing. You've got your Pestilence units. So Pestilence, if you go into that, the benefit is once per turn at the end of the turn, pick up to 3 friendly Pestilence units to be the targets. For each target, you get to make a pile-in move and then pick an enemy unit in combat with the target, roll a d3 on a 2+. Folks, d3, 2+ means 3 up. Like there's been so many times where I've rolled the 2 up. I'm like, yes, you got a 2. You're like, oh no, wait, it's a D3. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
So
it's a 3 up.
It's essentially a 3 up. You inflict the amount of mortal damage to that enemy unit equal to the roll. So you're doing on a 3 up, you're doing 1 to 3 mortal wounds. I think this is super average.
Yeah. I think it's actually pretty cool still. Like if there's people out there with the pestilence, so pretty much imagine you got like a bunch of
The acolytes.
acolytes, but like pestilent monks around, and then they're still alive, and then they pile in, and then suddenly you got more on the body, more on the point, because you got to remember it says any turn, once per turn at the end of any turn, so it can be your opponent's turn as well.
Yes.
So out of these 4 battle formations, this is the only one that's always happening. Yeah. So you can have your Verminus too, like as in not Verminus, sorry, Vermin King, because your Vermin King also has the Pestilence keyword. Yeah, Verminlord Corruptor, he can be piling and moving as well. Yeah, like it can pull a lot of people, like out of their mindset. Suddenly you're here, suddenly you're more there.
I'm not a fan of the build. Like if I look at the other 2, I'm much more, maybe it's my preference. Like I'm much more attracted to the Scryer or Molder compared to the Pestilence. But if I want to flood the board with Plague Monks and I want to support it with the Plague Furnace or the Plague Core Catapult, and you've got to build, like, good on you, go do it. And obviously, no Battle Shock's going to allow you to run these 40 blocks of Plague Monks and your crit auto wounding, and you're just absolutely flooding the board. Great. I just don't think there's enough meat around the bone for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to have a lot of monks. I think I also do agree to you on that aspect. But there is a way if you put your mindset to it.
Sure, it's definitely playable. I'm just saying, like, if I had an option, I would probably be going the other two at the moment.
No,
Even
definitely.
Verminus, I think even Verminus is better. Like, once per turn in your combat phase, pick up to 3 friendly Verminus units that have charged, a little bit more restrictive. Add 1 to the rend characteristic of target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. So that's nice. But it's obviously reliant on charging as opposed to the other ones which are just automatically on.
Yep, you're fully correct in this one. So pretty much it's restrictive. It has to be your turn. It has to be charged. You have to have charged as well. But +1 to rend for Verminus, and Verminus is clan rats. So we got clan rats, we got storm vermin, we have the warbringer. So suddenly you got clan rats that are a set of 20 clan rats are 40 attacks. 40 attacks suddenly auto wounding on 6s and +1 to rend. Yeah, that's pretty scary a bit. And then so pretty much there's even artifacts where you can there's a chance for you to increase the rend by an additional 1. And yeah, like with that many volume of attacks, you're going to get through. -1, -2 rend.
It's a shame that this one is locked to your combat phase, because if I hit a counter charge with a Verminus unit, I'm not going to get the benefit because it is a your combat phase and it only lasts the turn. So that feels a little bad to me personally. I'd like that to be open to. I mean, it's only 1 unit that can counter charge, right? It's not like
Yeah,
that's some big thing. Like, just let it be the combat phase.
yeah, it is restrictive in that sense. Yeah.
Just let them go. All right, so that's your battle formations. We've talked a little bit about the builds. Obviously, you can be looking at this along the way with your faction pack. So you've now got your heroic traits. Heroic traits are most likely like command traits. The difference is you don't have to put it on your general. You can put it on whoever you want. Your general, if you run a warlord, I assume Thankful. I haven't looked at Thankful's war scroll. I'm going to assume that Thankful is a warlord.
Yeah,
War Master, sorry, a War Master, sorry. So if you have run like Thankful, for example, Thankful doesn't have the build options anymore, does he?
Nah, no more build options. So
Yeah.
Thankful, he's got a shooting and he's got a melee option, and that's it. So however you built your Thankful, you got shooting.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Yeah, like, you don't have the option to go all shooting, all combat, or mix. It's now just a
yep,
standardized Thankful, which pros
yeah.
and cons. Anyway, you got 3 different hero traits you can choose from. Put it on one. Choose one on whatever hero. One being Scurry Away. So if this unit's in combat, roll a dice. On a 3-up, you can immediately use the retreat ability as if it's your movement phase. The other options, before I get Bruce to tell me first, second, third, Short-Tempered, you get to add 1 to the run and charge roll for friendly Skaven units while they're wholly within 13 of this unit. The last one, being Skilled Manipulator, is while this unit is within the combat range of a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry unit, it has a ward of 4-up, and then each time you make a success, it's basically a bodyguard. So you can, for each time you make a successful ward roll for this unit, allocate 1 point of damage to that infantry unit instead. You don't get to double dip with wards as well. So it's the old bodyguard rule. How do you rank them? What's
All right.
first, second, third?
All right. So I think from my list, it's Skilled Manipulator. So this way, Skilled Manipulator, and then scurried away, and then Short-Tempered. And but recently I've started to think Skilled Manipulator and Scurried Away is on the same level. Maybe we'll save Scurry Away to later for that story. But Skilled Manipulator is great. So you put it on a Verminlord that's not a unique, and then suddenly you got bodyguard transfer of a 4-up ward. It makes them more survival. If you put it on clan rats, for example, no battle shock, and you just have them recur on their own. Yep, it's great.
Yeah, clan rats come back. They recur at the end of the
End of the turn.
phase, end of the
End of the
turn.
turn. Yeah, end of the
Yeah,
turn.
end of the turn. So you can double down it as well, where you can rally to bring them back in the hero phase, and they come back at the end of the turn. So a great way to get a bodyguard in essentially for a critical hero. I probably would have said Scurry Away is slightly ahead.
Yeah,
Because when you hit the 3-up, it can be critical, right? Like I've
yeah,
said to you, like I need to kill this unit. Maybe it's my battle tactic, or it's absolutely. I've invested so much and the fact that you can do it on a Verminlord. Like I
okay.
would
Yeah.
have assumed, Scurry Away makes sense for like a Master Molder or a small Claw Lord, but when you put it on that Verminlord and it
Yeah,
runs away on a
it's pretty
3-up,
nasty.
it's a feel bad because then you can heal it. You can rally in the next turn to heal. You can do all these things. Like
All right,
it's like to me,
all right,
when you hit the 3-up, Scurry Away is number
all right,
one.
all right, all right. I'm gonna go full blast. So for those Skaven for those Skaven guys out there, Scurried Way, yes, it's true. So it feels a bit like a Manfred. If you get that 3-up, and there's no units blocking you, you're suddenly out of there. Like laters, alligators. You know what I mean? Like, so the plan is that, like, so let's just give an example for Verminlord Warps here. He has an ability where it's 4-up. Um, he selects a unit that's in combat with him, and that unit strikes last. And then if you also have Scurry Away with him, um, then you would activate this ability because you get to choose which one of however you want to activate. If you fail that, then you're hoping on a 3-up. You can just dash out of there, and then you're gone. And the thing is, in this new 4.0 iteration, if it's your opponent's combat phase, the abilities happen first before the fighting. So if you compare it to 3.0, we still had Scurry Away, true, but if it's your opponent's phase, he gets to strike first. He gets to use his strike first abilities, or he gets to like activate with a fight ability first. And so I might not be able to Scurry Away, but this one is Scurry Away activates first because it's an ability. All abilities happen first before we select your regular fight core rule ability. And yeah,
Where in
it's
the
so good.
past, like in the past where Bruce and I have fought, like with the Master Molder, for example, you only scurried away when you selected the Master Molder to either fight or flee. So if I would have charged you and then attacked you first, I could stop you from doing scurry away in the old edition.
Yeah.
Now you've got much more flexibility. Again, that's why I prioritize it as probably a little higher than the skill manipulator, but
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like they're very much on par.
Yeah.
Short tempered's nice. I just don't need the +1 to run and charge that often.
Yeah, 100% correct. I feel like if you're always getting that 3-up, which I did, I had that game against Magro, and I always had that 3-up. Like whether or not I chose to retreat or not, it was there. But pretty much,
The strike
it,
last combination was nice as well. Like in
yeah,
that was a nice fail safe because if you fail a 3-up, you're stuck there and you're going to die. But
mm,
that was a nice little 1-2 plan B option.
yeah,
You got 3 artifacts. You can only choose one of them. There is no warlord to get an extra enhancement or anything. So your 3 options are Foulhide, which allows you to heal D3 at the end of any turn, so both turns, which is awesome. Skaven Brew, which is a passive ability. So pick a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry unit wholly within 13 inches of this unit to be the target. Inflict D3 mortal wounds on the target, then add 1 to the attack characteristic of that target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. Or you have Warpstone Charm, where again, a passive ability, where you pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target, roll a dice on a 3+, subtract 1 from save rolls for the target for the rest of the turn. Again, 1, 2, 3. How would you rank them?
I would put Foulhide as 1. Like that's the best, and then I would put Warpstone Charm, and then I'll put Skaven Brew. I'll put Foulhide because if you're playing that type of guy where your Verminlord is a support and he only needs to kill something when he knows he can kill something, you would go Foulhide with the combination of the Bodyguard or Foulhide with the combination of Scurry Away. And I think it's very versatile. It's like you're super hard, super annoying to kill. If you're going Skaven Brew, then I'm guessing you'll do something like you can put it on a Screaming Bell, and then your Screaming Bell with your 40 clan your 40 clan rats, so that's 80 attacks, and then you buff it with with plus one more attack, and then that's an absurd amount of attacks to when you're trying to kill something. So that's a buffing tool. And your Warpstone Charm, I think your Warpstone Charm is there. I think it's great. In my latest battle report with AoS coach, I did use Warpstone Charm. I used it in the same iteration with my Verminlord Warpseer. So pretty much I had 3 activations for my combat phase. So it was like Warpstone Charm activation, Strike Last activation, and if those buffs didn't go off, I'll try to Scurry Away on a 3-up if that activated or not. Yeah.
I think all of them are probably equal. Foulhide is obviously universal, so everyone can benefit. Really good recipient for a Verminlord. I think that's just keeping that alive is just great. Then, to your point, depending on how I build, the Skaven Brew or the Warpstone Charm have their place. There's a lot less. I wouldn't say there's less rend. Look, there's probably not as much safe stacking is probably what I want to save, right? Because there's no Finest Hour, there's no Mystic Shield. So getting a -1 to save can really make the difference. And you're relying on all out defense, and that's kind of it. So that can really be powerful, the Warpstone Charm. But equally, +1 attack, especially when you've got something like crit auto wound or crit mortals, or any of those who have a high volume of attacks, or you can get high value or high damage. That Skaven Brew can be really powerful. And if you've got multiple wounds, you hopefully don't lose a model with that D3 damage.
Yeah. It could hurt a lot more on rat ogres, but for clan rats and stuff, it's very good. I think what you said was correct though. It took me a while to wrap my head around no Mystic Shield, no Finest Hour. So your especially your heroes, like we're only on a 4-up save, so pretty much the value of 3-up save became higher, and we don't have much we don't have much to deal with if you have a 4-up save. So you're only running on all out defense. So that means like you got to pocket all out defense like kind of all the time, like when something crucial is about to happen.
Yeah, you really feel it when you have no Mystic Shield and no Finest Hour, because you can get a Stormcast hero who's super tanky, could be saving on 5s and 4s, where I can't afford that. And Stormcast, for example, don't have that 6-up ward that we used to have in Hammers of Sigmar. And I'm just talking Stormcast here, but you really do feel the damage go through. So -1 to save is quite impactful. Spell lore. So with the spell lore, folks, you don't have to pick individual spells anymore. You just get all 3 of them. So if you've got a wizard, you get these 3 spells. You've got the Wither, Skitter Leap, and Warp Gale. So the benefits here, just without reading them all, Wither's going to deal D3 mortal damage to the target. Skitter Leap is going to allow you to teleport around the board and set up just a traditional outside of 9 inches from all enemy units. And then Warp Gale, you make the target strike last for the rest of the turn. So what have you found from these 3 spells? Again, there's no Mystic Shield, no Arcane Bolt. You obviously can summon your manifestations, and I'll get to in a second. But which ones have you found most valuable? And again, how would you rank them 1, 2, 3?
So one, the most valuable, I think, it'll be Warp Gale. Yeah. Warp Gale, and then Skitter Leap, and Wither would be roughly about the same. How I'd see it is that Warp Gale is the only one that's a higher range. It's 18 inch. The rest are both 13 inch, and so because its strike lasts to the rest of the turn, if you do magic intervention, was it? Yeah, magic intervention. So you're able to get another unit to strike last. That's possible with the downside of -1, but it's a 7. 7's all right. So strike last is great because if you have a horde of clan rats, for example, and then so it's 20 models, you don't want them to die, so you want to have the 20 models attack first, so you have a higher volume, so that's like 40 attacks, so that you deal more damage. So that's where I see strike last come very valuable. I think strike last. I think in general everybody knows strike last is very good. Skitter leap, it's still locked to your hero only, sadly, but it's teleport. It's a good teleport. So 9 away, but with the new iteration in 4.0, even though you're 9 away, somebody can redeploy, and then suddenly it becomes like a 10, or sorry, not a 10. Like it can be like a 12, or out of charge range. So a little bit less value, but it kind of forces your opponent to use a CP, which is great. Yeah, so there's mind games there. And Wither is if you have enough wizards and you just need something to die, the good thing about it is that it goes so if you do get it off, it goes straight into mortal wounds. There's no double I need to beat your wound characteristic or thing compared to 3.0. Yeah.
And it's also unlimited. So if you have multiple wizards, you could be casting this multiple times. The same wizard can't cast it multiple times, but multiple wizards, if you run out of spells, you obviously can cast Wither multiple times. The other call out I'll make here, and something that I've really appreciated playing against you, is the Gracia in your hero phase allows you to roll 3d6 on the casting roll instead of 2d6. Only on your hero phase, so it won't work with magical intervention, unfortunately. But you can, you roll 3d6 instead of 2d6.
Yeah.
If the casting roll is 13, it's successfully cast, and then you take some damage. If it's a casting roll not of 13, it's like the old, is it the Kabbalist rule where you roll 3d6 and pick the highest of the 2 dice? Actually, no,
Yeah,
that wasn't the rule. I think
the
they still roll
Kabbalist
3d6.
was.
Yeah,
they
still
just
roll
kept
3d6.
That's just
Yeah.
They just kept.
Bloody-
Well, this one's good. You roll 3. If it's 13, it's unbindable, and then you take a bit of damage. But it's supposed to be good, only because I had that one game where nearly two times in a row, I rolled a double 1, and then when I did, then I did Warpstone Charm again, and I rolled 3 dice, and it was triple 1, and I was just like, God, what's happening? Yeah.
It's true, you did. You
Yeah.
did.
But it's good though.
But
It's supposed to be good. Yeah.
and plus you can tap into like your place of power and get a +1 to that cast as well. So it makes it really hard to unbind.
Or
And there's no,
I think it's I think it can't be modified.
oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry, right. This roll cannot be re-rolled or modified. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that could work in your opponent's turn if you're using magical intervention. Yes, but yeah, you're right. You can't do it in combination with the Warpstone shard. Yes, thank you. I see that. I see that rule now.
I think it's cool though. That, like if you have some sort of ability where you're reducing enemy wizards like casting. So like if you do Warpstone Charm, you don't take that because it cannot be modified. So if there's supposed to be a -1 to your cast, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, like you'll get around it, but
Mm.
good spell laws. I think I tend to agree. A lot of good things, right? You need to do a little bit of damage. You got Wither. You need to move around. You got Skitter Leap. You got Warp Gale, which is universally. So either way, you've got something up your sleeve to cast, which is really nice. You do have your prayer law. I'm not going to read them. They're super texty and super heavy. Probably the one call out that I really appreciate from the prayers is that when you make a chanting roll, you can hold the dice. So let's say, for example, let's say I'm going for Filth Crust, and I roll a 3. I don't fail it. I just hold that 3. And then the next time I chant, I can add those 2 dice together. And what's really cool is if you roll an 8+ on all 3 of these chanting rolls, so you combine a couple of dice, you get a bonus prayer. So you get a bonus ability in addition to the regular effect. So the +1 to wound rolls, there's something that does some mortal damage on a roll of a 5 up for each model, or you can subtract 1 to wound. I think Rabid Tough is the one that I really appreciate, but you have not run a priest just yet. Any reason why?
So unfortunately, in the new iteration, we've lost a priest on foot. So that is not around anymore. So the only priest that we have now is a Verminlord corruptor and a priest on like Screaming Bell is what I'd say. Like, the priest on his little cart.
Yeah, that's right. Because you've lost.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of things you lost. Like you lost. Was it night runners or gutter runners? You
Yeah,
lost
we lost gunner runners. Yeah.
the
We
plague. No,
lost.
you've got the plague priest on foot.
No more plague priests on foot, man.
Yeah, I'm looking at the war scroll right now. Unless is that one of the things that are just going to run away in the next year?
Like, is it? Are you looking at the war scroll? Is it
I'm looking
plague
at the war
priest on
scroll.
foot? Not pray. Not how many wounds does it have?
5 wounds. I'm
Plague
looking at it
priest
right
on.
now. Yeah, I'm
No
looking
way.
at it right now. I'm
Oh,
looking
so
at it
it's
right
good
now.
then.
I can't bring it up on screen.
Yeah,
I can't
easy.
bring up the version I have. But you've got unless it's being retired and it's hanging around
Yeah.
for a year, like the Beast of Chaos. The Plague Priest is 5 wounds or 5 health. Its ability is you get +1 ritual point. There's a little ability with if you got a fight ability.
Oh, that's great then. So pretty much how I'd rank it is so I'll put Rabbit Tough as 1, and then I'll put Filth Crust as 2, and then Bile Torrent. I think I'll put Rabbit Tough because it has the general subtract 1 to wound, and then you get, and if you choose to decide on an 8 up and spend all your prayer points, +1 to save, and that's like the only way you're gonna get +1 to save. You can put it on a big unit, put it on a Verminlord, it's all cool. But the point is that you can put it on sorry, you can't put it on a Verminlord, it's infantry only, but it's that's the only way you're gonna get save. Your Filth Crust, the reason why I like your Filth Crust is so you +1 to wound, and it's any Skaven infantry. So it doesn't need to be plague monks. It can be rat ogres, it can be whatever. So you can just have that one model to do that, to just do prayers.
By the way, I see what you're talking about. So I've just brought up Warhammer Community. I wanted to just check. So you've got what's leaving the range, and one of the things that's leaving the range is the Plague Priest on foot. So I see why you said what you said. So I don't know if there's going to be a new Plague Priest when the Battle Tome comes out, or if this is just in here because it's like the Beast of Chaos where they're giving us like a year leniency. It's unclear at this particular point, or maybe I've just missed the part in the article. But look, for the purposes of thinking of the future of Skaven, I'm with my Stormcast, I'm not even touching any things that are going into Legend. Like I'm just getting it out of my head. But you maybe you do a final hurrah, whatever.
Yeah.
It
Definitely. So the so the Plague Priest is like has these options. On an 8 up, you can select an infantry unit, and then suddenly it's auto critting mortal wounds until the start of your next turn. So I think the highest value would be rat ogres because they do 2 damage. Suddenly 2 damage for mortal wounds is great. So everybody that's here that's looking at this, you don't see any the crazy plague prayers, and the plague prayers is actually locked to the Verminlord corruptor. So it's still around. It's just not here.
Yeah, I think what I like about this though is that it's not buffing just pestilence. Like I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of the stuff buff pestilence. This is now buffing Skaven infantry, so you can run some plague priest or plague priests on whatever plague furnace and buff your other units. Because it's only Skaven infantry. So that's interesting. We haven't played around with it just yet, so we don't have a lot of practical experience, but again, this is our first experience learning through the game. Manifestations, they are free. They don't cost you any points. You can choose the Skaven manifestation law, or you can choose the other option from endless spells, like the universal ones, whether it's like, chromatic cogs and, gnashing jaws and things like that. And there's a separate video if you want to go look at their rules. We'll talk about that. But what have you found with the Skaven manifestations? Have you liked them? Do you regret taking them? We played with them in our last game, and boy, oh boy, was it interesting, in a good way for you, in a pain in the backside way for me.
I think definitely it's one of the things that we Skaven faction does need. One of my first games we didn't have this, and we felt a bit more squishy. But if you have 6-up ward and you're running a Bell of Doom with the aura of subtract 1 to your wound rolls for your opponent against Skaven infantry, I think it's great. Like it's just going to be such a pain where you're changing the wound rolls, which one of the most valuable rolls, and then you got 6-up ward if you're running a Screaming Bell as well. But in general, Bell of Doom, I put that in such high regard. Vermintide and Warp Lightning Vortex, I'll put them about the same. Vermintide, it's like a little unit. It has 13 health, and it has a 6-up ward as well. It does a little bit of damage here and there, but the point is that it blocks and it just holds people in place. The Warp Lightning Vortex,
And it heals. Sorry to interrupt you, Bruce.
Correct, yeah.
It heals. That's the thing that really caught me off, is that it's 13 wounds, and at the end of any turn, so yours and mine, it heals D6 wounds, which is like really super durable. So it's like, do I use one of my spell casts to banish it? Do I try to shoot it off and do like, well, more than 13? Like, you're probably on average doing 15 damage to get rid of it. Do I just ignore it? And it's a big base size, right? And the fact that it's got 13 attacks and has crit auto wounds, while it doesn't have high rend, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, so that's where the value for the Warpstone Charm will be, where you can make something +1 to rend, so you still get auto wounds there. I think it's really good. It makes it would make your opponent to unbind it, and yeah, it's a good little piece that would annoy you because it's got 6-up heals. The Warp Lightning Vortex, I think it's great. It feels very similar. It still works similar to how it used to work as 3.0. You summon one wholly within 13, and then you place the rest, so it can be outside of 13. And then so when you first summon it, you subtract 2 to run and 2 to charge. So that happens off the bat, but it doesn't deal damage straight away on the cast, so you lose that. But it's still great. It's when it's after you, if you summon in your turn, it won't deal damage then, but it'll start to deal damage in your opponent's turn, which is cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we both agree that the Bell of Doom is probably the number one endless spell of the three. Like
Number one.
That has been so good, and it's got a combat profile which surprised me. Like, it's got a 3d6 move, which can be quite fast. On average, you're looking at a 10. But it's got 2d6 attacks, and hits on 4s, wounds on 4. So one, it's annoying because it gives you the -1 to wound roll, but two, it's fast, and it does a little bit of damage. So, I mean, it is only 7 health. It will die quickly when you focus on it, but it's a really good endless spell.
Yeah, I'd like to just say something there. So the subtract 1 to wound is for attacks, so it's all attacks. So your opponent will be trying to kill that straight away. Like, if your opponent has shooting, they're gonna try and shoot it because it's too much of an annoyance. And what that is that you're making them distribute their damage to something that didn't cost you anything.
Yeah, it's a good call out, because every time you put the bell on, I would focus on it. Anytime that I couldn't kill it and it had 1 wound left, or I focused on your rat ogres, or I focused on your, anything else, I instantly regretted not doing it, because that -1 to wound just punished you.
Yes.
So for me, it's priority number one. Get it off the board ASAP, especially before I charge into combat.
Yeah, very devastating. It's hard to pick any other manifestation when you have Bell Doom, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It is very good. Let's talk Gnawholes here. And, part of the reason I want to bring it up is the first block there, which is not on the War Scroll. It's a core rule in 4th edition that you really need to get across, right? So this is a universal across any of the factions that have faction terrain. Now, this is mostly how everyone's faction terrain works. So, like, as a Gits player, I'm like, okay, doesn't matter. This is literally no real difference to me. But Skaven had a lot more flexibility with where you put your Gnawholes and put them in enemy territory. And there's always little shenanigans, right? That's gone. That's gone unless you destroy a Gnawhole and then you bring another one back for the faction rule. So now you're setting them all up within friendly territory, more than 3 inches from objectives, blah, 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 blah. So how has that changed the way you've looked at your Gnawholes? And do you have any advice for me in regards to how you deploy, or what you're thinking, with each battle plan? Like, obviously not each battle plan, but how do you think about Gnawhole placement?
Okay, so just comparing the differences, in 3.0, your Gnawholes will be like one here. So like if this square was the screen, so one on the side, and then one roughly up here, and then one in your territory. One in your territory, right? And what that allows you to do is you'll bounce in like a triangle sort of formation, where you can suddenly get behind your enemy lines. You can suddenly be on the opposite field next to an objective, but now you can't do that. So it has to be all in your territory. So if your territory is like half the map like this, then it's just here. The type of deployment I would say is that you'd have two in just outside 3 inch of each objective, if that's the closest you can be, and then you'd put one aggressive. That's what I think. You either put one aggressive if that's the type of person you are, or you put one just in somewhere in the middle, at the back, or right in the center, so that you have easier accessibility to jump between the Gnawholes from each side of the map, the short end of the map. You want it like that because there's a battle tactic where you need to preset your units up so that they can be there to do your battle tactic as well. So
I think
you're backing yourself up already.
The thing that really becomes impactful, and maybe a different way of using that Gnawhole, is you'll notice the purple ability there. So once per turn, at the end of your turn, for one command point, you can pick a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry unit that has been destroyed that to be the target. Then you replace that unit with half the amount of models, wholly within 6 inches of a friendly Gnawhole, and more than 3 from enemies. So not you 9, you're 3s. So that brings those clan rats from 20 to 10, or 40 to 20. Bring those storm fiends or rat ogres from 6 to 3, or 3 to 2. You insert here, right? You understand the rules. So one, we alluded to it very early on in the discussion, having that one CP to be able to do that. I've caught Bruce at least once where he's wanted to do that, but he's burning CP, so that can be punishing. But two, it allows you to be more aggressive with your units, knowing that you can go in, probably do some serious damage, and then knowing they're coming back. There's a lot of interesting play with that rule in
Yes.
itself.
So the great thing about that rule is that you're wholly within 6 inch of the Gnawhole. So if the Gnawhole's like there, and your opponent is like within 3 inch of the Gnawhole, it doesn't matter. That doesn't stop you from able to summon it. As long as you're still 6 inch away, and you're wholly within 6 inch of the Gnawhole, you'll still be able to put your unit out. So that's the great part of it. That also coincides with the reason why maybe if you want to put your Gnawhole aggressively in the face of your opponent. So if your opponent does destroy the Gnawhole, now you get to place another Gnawhole free of any of its restrictions, like anywhere on the map. And if you do summon a infantry unit back, it's only 6 inch away. Yeah.
Yeah, I have purposely avoided this, and I would rather just stand near the Gnawhole just to try to stop you from jumping through it. Destroying it, there's no incentive right now destroying it because there's no like destroy ability. Like I don't score a battle tactic for destroying it, but there's obviously some play, and I've heard some discussion from other people who have been playing Skaven, and they've had the same thing. Like someone kills the Gnawhole, then it allows them to bring it back, and then it allows them some utility and versatility around having that resource in the opponent or neutral territory, and what then allows you to do through the endless Vermintide. So, long story short, make sure you got a CP up your sleeve because it's a good ability.
Yep. So yeah, Mega's right. So I don't think the opponent will tend to break the Gnawhole because it's just a upside for me. I can now place it anywhere without restriction. But yeah, the ability where you can suddenly come out of the Gnawhole and resurrect a infantry unit out of 6, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, you know what? There's ways that you can use them to. And I got a question. Someone was talking about, is there a way to use those null holes to screen your army? And the answer is yes. You could possibly use them all aggressively. And obviously you've got some trade-offs there, but you could use them aggressively to screen out and to be annoying. So yeah, there's a lot more utility in it.
Yeah. I'd just like to get this out as well. So for those who are planning to like bounce around a lot, like how we used to, we can technically still do that because we have 3 null holes, and technically the tunnels through reality movement phase ability, we should be able to bounce between them because because one null hole has the ability and the other null hole has that ability, so we can move through null holes pretty reliably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always been helpful to move you around, especially to
yeah,
reposition and get yourself out of danger and stuff, right?
yeah.
And by the way, the new cover rule now is -1 to shooting. It's not. It's not plus.
Minus one to hit for shooting. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's not. It's not. But basically, I just want to say it's not +1 save like the old
yeah.
cover.
No, not anymore.
So yeah, yeah. So it's not. But either way, you can never stand on it anyway. You weren't allowed to
Mm,
stand on it.
yeah.
At this point, before we get into lists, so I do want to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite units? I do have some questions, by the way, I want to bring up from the chat or from the Discord.
Oh,
But
please. Yeah.
but at this point, like, actually, you know what? Let me start you with this one. You've experimented now with 3 different Verminlords. What have you found through your Verminlord exploration? Do you have a favorite? Do you ones that stand out better than others? Is it dependent on what you're building, like Molder Scryer, Verminus, blah blah blah? Like what comes to mind?
Um, I think it just depends on your list. I do have a favorite. Um, my current favorite is just to be a bit simple, it'll be the Verminlord Warbringer. If anybody's seen his War Scroll, it's pretty nasty. 7 attacks, 3s on 2s, -2 Ren for 3 damage, crit mortals. That's beautiful. Um, I can see I can see the Deceiver somewhere up there, just for the fact that you can put Scurry away and all the other abilities, and then suddenly he can also teleport in combat with his like Shadow Step.
The rampage.
Yeah, so his Rampage ability, which is on a I think it's on a 4 up. On a 4 up, he can
Pick a
choose
point
a
on the
point.
battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah, wholly within 13 and still being within combat, and then suddenly you're out of there and you're fighting something else. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's a really interesting piece. Like when you read the designer's note, so the Verminlord Deceiver, it has a rampage ability, which used to be your monstrous rampages, but it's now happening at the start of the combat phase. Pick an enemy, pick a unit. If this unit's in combat, roll a dice on a 4+. pick a point on the battlefield within 13 inches of the unit and within 1 inch of an enemy unit. You basically teleport, but you can teleport into another combat. So it does allow you to set up into a new combat. So, getting yourself out of a combat you don't want to, or getting yourself into a squishier, juicier target, or like, I love that rule, but it is 50-50, right? A
Yeah.
4 up. So
So I want to go a bit more deeper into that. So see how I'd said before, if you lock yourself up in combat, if you're a regular Verminlord, any other Verminlord, you sometimes, because you got such a big base, you won't be able to retreat because you got your own units or you got your opponent's units blocking you and you're just locked in combat. But as a Verminlord Deceiver, what you can do is you can just suddenly rearrange yourself to be in a position where nothing's blocking you because you're teleporting, but you're still within combat, right? On that 4 up, and then on the 3 up, you'll scurry away, and you scurry away out onto an objective that suddenly you didn't know that you needed to have 5 wounds on, and then that's where you can stuff a lot of plans up. I think it's pretty good.
I was looking at the other. What about is it King Screech? Is it the our unique version?
Yes,
What
our
what have
unique
we thought about? What do we
Lord,
think with
Lord Screech himself. Yes,
the Vermin King?
I think he's very good. He's got high stocks right up there with Verminlord Warbringer. What I said before is like, so the Verminlord Warbringer has all the keywords. We can go really big brain into it and like do some some crazy abilities where it's like you got a bunch of master molders and you're just like whipping him back to like full HP all of a sudden, or like you put him in Clan Scry. Like you can put him in anywhere and it'll be great. I think his attack profile is great too. I think seven attacks, 3s on 2s. Like
Two,
what's it?
Ren 2, 3
Exploding sixes.
damage. Crit 2 hits.
Yeah, crit 2 hits. Yeah. So we got that. I think it's great. I think with him you'll be able to utilize a lot of different sub-faction abilities, and also because he's also master clan. He when you're building your regiment, is a regiment
Your
coach?
regiment.
Yeah, so he can have anyone. So that's the good thing. So if you have like a Verminlord Deceiver, you can only bring Eshin. You can only put Eshin guys in. So then you're kind of locked in that sort of regiment. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone will find that out when the pitch battle profiles come out. So it won't be obvious to you on the battle pack, but no, whenever points and pitch battle profiles come out, it'll explain more about who goes into what regiment. But the Vermin King, what's really neat about it is the fact that it does have all the keywords, right? So if you want to go all in on a Scryer list, you really double down in a Scryer list. Or if you're someone who wants to build a more mixed soupy force, the Vermin King has rules to benefit different units as well. So a really good utility piece, depending on how you want to run your Skaven. Any other like let's talk about the box. Let's talk about Skaven Tide itself. Like, how have you found some of the new units? So your Claw Lord on Gnarl Beast. What's your initial thoughts on that one?
I think it's great. I think we always needed a little mount unit. We got a hero that's great. I would also like more like regular units, but the fact that he moves 9, he's got a bit more wounds. He's got shooting, and then he's got the shooting ability in combat too. I think it's very good. He's got a little special ability where a unit can take, I think, one mortal wound, and then suddenly it can increase its value on the objective. So yeah, I think he's really good. You see as a Skaven user that everybody's like hitting 3s on 4s, 4s on 3s. It's very repetitive. Sometimes it's high swing, low swing. If you're talking about like if you need something to die, as in like what's the unit that would do a lot of damage, and you're gonna most likely do it. Put your faith in the Verminlords. 3s on 2s, 4s on 2s is great. And the Hell Pit Abomination is up there too. 13 attacks, 4s on 2s, all out attack, 3s on 2s. You put faith in that guy.
So let me tell the story. You're broken rank. I did ask you about the Skaven Tide box, but let me tell you a story about why I hate Bruce's Hell Pit. So we're in combat. I charge my Fulminators into this Hell Pit, and we kill the Hell Pit. Yay, go me! And it has a rule. Is it like you roll a dice on a roll of blah blah blah? Something happens. But if you
Too horrible
roll,
to die.
yeah, too horrible to. I'm trying to bring up the war scroll at the same time, but basically on a roll of what is the roll? It comes back to life. Is it a
5 or
five?
6. Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, so after the Hell Pit dies on a roll of a 5 to a 6, it comes back to life on D6 health. Was it
on D6 health, and I rolled
D6
I
health?
rolled a 6.
He rolls a 6, and then correct me if I'm wrong. Whether did you get the turn or did you heal it more? Like I remember.
So yeah, the Hell Pit on his War Scroll has an ability at the end of any turn, he continues to heal on a D6. So I rolled another 6. So he's suddenly on 12 wounds from 0. From death. From death, he suddenly has 12 health back. And then the Master Molder was wholly within 13 of him. So he's going to heal him an additional D3. And then suddenly he's only had taken 1 damage. After all of that, after the Fulminators, after everything, in that turn, he's suddenly taken 1 damage. And then I got him back.
And then you went on a rampage with that
Yeah.
thing. I'm like,
and then he stayed alive for the whole game. Oh, so good.
I actually regret when Indrasa had the choice of going into the Hell Pit Abomination or the Verminlord. I now regret not going into the Hell Pit because I think removing the Hell Pit would have swung that game. And why I keep talking about Indrasa, folks, is Indrasa does double damage against monsters. So part of the reason I could yeet out that Verminlord so quickly is like some of those attacks were doing like 8 damage a pop. So like it was just like just deleting things. And obviously you'd already died once, so you wouldn't come back again. It was lesson learned. But that Hell Pit Abomination for the points, incredible value. So
I think what gets me as well is like 13 attacks. 13 attacks is a lot of attacks. It's going to get you there. And then if you got that special ability where you got +1 to attacks, the is it called battalion? Yeah. Then it's 14 attacks, and then you can possibly get a 5-up ward on a Hell Pit. Yeah.
And then add the fact that it's got an ability called anti-infantry, so you get +1 rend going into infantry units. So all of a sudden, you're now rend 3 doing 2 damage apiece, hitting on 4, so like you all-out attack it. So it's 13 attacks, hitting on 3s if you issue all-out attack, wounding on 2s, like potentially rend 3 into infantry for 2 damage. Like it was lifting things. Like it was doing some serious damage. And because a lot of my heroes, my little 5 wound idiots, are all infantry, like you're just deleting heroes. So that was also working in your favor. So I have a newfound respect for the Hell Pit Abomination. Like I always respected it, but I have more respect for it. I'm going to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions and then we're going to get into lists. So first one is, are clan rats even better than 3rd edition?
I think so. Yes. They I think they're better because they're 2 attacks each. They got no battle shock. And they got 3-inch range. They are better. You just have to know when to be on the point and not be on the point. They're still just as squishy though. Like if it's something like if there's anybody that hits decently, it'll take a lot of wounds off them, and you have to decide whether to all out defense them and keep them up and use some resource for that.
While I'm bringing up the War Scroll, are Doom Wheels good? And follow-up question, should I spam Doom Wheels? Now, first off, the answer is always yes. Like the more Doom Wheels you have, the more fun you have, and the more chance you have to win. But Bruce, what are your thoughts on Doom Wheels and spam?
Okay, I would say I do like Doom Wheels, but if you compare it to 3.0, the only sad thing about it is that you can't overcharge, you can't overclock them anymore. So they are stuck at only D6 amount of shooting. You can use them. The reason why is because 3 claw steps ahead says you pick a infantry unit. I think the Doom Wheel might be able to use it. I can't
No.
remember.
Doom Wheel's
Is it
War
infantry?
Machine. Nah, it's
War
a War
Machine?
Machine. It can't use
But
it.
does it say non-monster only or does it say infantry only for the 3 claw steps?
At least 3 claw steps ahead is non-Skaven monster, so it would qualify
Oh,
because
so it does qualify. Yeah.
because the Doom Wheel is just a War Machine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the monster keyword. So yeah,
Yeah.
you could do
You
it.
can. And the cool thing about it is that it says it's in its ability. It says movement, and then it says, so if it says movement, technically you'll think in your movement phase, right? So you can only walk over people in your movement phase. But in 3 claw steps ahead, it actually says move as if it was your movement phase. So technically you should be able to run people over with 3 claw steps ahead. And if you have a bunch of Doom Wheels, vroom vroom, go ahead, run them all down.
And it does say in the designer's notes that this unit can use this ability even if it's in combat. And speaking of which, it also has shoot in combat too. So a lot of units, when you are in combat with them, they can't shoot. This one has an exception, so you still get to shoot.
Yeah. So as coach said, like you're stuck in combat, nuts, just walk out there, walk straight out there. That's very cool.
I like it. What else have I got here? So we've talked a little bit about Pestilence and Gnawhole, so we can ignore that one. Do you have any thoughts on the weapons team?
Yes. I was literally praying that they changed how Warp Fire Thrower worked, because I didn't like how it was like this unit times the amount of models within range. I guess it was very cool, but I just wanted it something else. So the new iteration of Warp Fire Thrower is 2d6, 2s on 4s, minus 2 rend, 1 damage. I think that's great. Minus 2 rend is nothing to scoff at. If you have that like that is it called a regiment? I keep forgetting, but
The regiment.
yeah,
That's
if
fine.
you have that Scryer regiment, where it's +1 to wound and +1 to rend.
The battle formation. Sorry, the battle formation.
Yeah, the battle formation. So if you got that battle formation, the Scryer battle formation, it could be up to -3 rend, 2s on 3s instead. Like, and this little puny guy, he can do that amount of attacks. It's so good. Like, I put a lot of value on him. I think the Gatlin, the rattling gun guy, that little that little guy, I think his value went a bit lower, to be honest, because you, like, if you compared it to 3.0, you can buff the damage from 1 to 2. So if anybody who hasn't seen it, it's 4s on 4s, -1 rend for 1 damage. That's what you're looking at for 2d6, 3d6 amount of attacks, something like that.
Maybe one final question, then I'll bring up the lists. And it's come up a few times, right? And I think there's other questions that I've got that we've already acknowledged in the discussion. But one thing that keeps coming up by Skaven players constantly is around spam, right? And the viability of spam. Or do you think this faction pack is encouraging you to spam, like going all in on 100 plague monks, building out a bunch of reinforced clan rats, or you've run against me. You've run a unit of reinforced rat ogres and a unit of reinforced storm fiends. Do you think that is the way that Skaven players are going to play in the long term? Not necessarily initially, but like obviously people will play around. But do you think that spammable, just doubling down nature is going to be the best way to run Skaven until a battle tome hits us?
I think Skaven in general does have a lot of variation. Like we're powerful in different aspects. on how you back then you used to describe like you'd have like a pocket amount of points for a combo, and they'll buff each other, and then another pocket amount of points. But from my perspective, I think we would have a few duplications of a certain unit, like for example, like multitude of clan rats, just to like block people's like just to have the field advantage, or you have a multitude of like rat ogres just so that like when you hit, you're gonna hit really hard, but you're also soft at the same time. But the reason why you have so many is that you can bring them back. Um, I think we'll see like a bit of that. So an example is like um, you would have a few rat ogres here, a few like a reinforced Jezzail here, or you might have like a reinforced Storm Fiend here. Yeah, you see like pockets of doubles of things here and there. I think that's
I
what we'll
know
be seeing.
I know my experience against you is it's been harder to play against you when you've reinforced those units. When you've run those, like MSU style, flood the board with lots of like lots of troops, like 2 units of 20 clan rats, a unit of 3 Jezzails, 3 rat ogres here, 3 storm fiends here. That has been okay to handle. I haven't found that too tough. But that last game where you had the 6 Storm Fiends, 6 Rat Ogres, 3 Rat Ogres, a Verminlord, the Helpit Abomination, and Friends, it really split my attacks. I'm like, right, how do I handle this? Like, if I go into the Storm Fiends, I need to commit a lot of resources to Storm Fiends, let alone the fact that you hit the 5-up ward on them, which just made them like, this is a really tough challenge. And, I was running lots of things like bloody Fulminators and things like that. But maybe some armies don't have that damage output. So, that they might completely ignore it. Like, how do you handle so many wounds and with a 5-up ward? So it was really interesting. I found the last game much more challenging because you were just tanking up, and yeah,
Yeah.
like it was a really close game, by the way.
Yeah.
We again, like all of our games, have been messing around and testing things. Like I took the double turn and failed the battle tactic. So it's always been really interesting to kind of learn the process. It was still a close game, but it was like that was really tough.
Yeah. I think for me, a learning curve was to try and figure out what units did damage on command. So even though clan rats can deal damage, you need them alive. So if you have a Verminlord and clan rats like attacking at the same time, you're going to lose some clan rats because you want your Verminlord to attack first. But that's where you need to utilize that strike last ability, or the strike last ability on the spell, and that's where it becomes more technical. I started to realize that if I want something dead, I go to my boy the Hill Pit or my Rat Ogres, and um, we do what what does happen though is that if you have the power to take something off the table, then that means that you're able to walk onto the point eventually, or fight on the point, take it off the table, still be on the point. If you're going full bodies, where um, like Magro has advised this as well, it's like instead of just having a set of clan rats 20 on its own, maybe reinforcing it to 40, and that's going to be really hard to take off. Like 40 wounds, and if you have a screaming bell 6-up ward, and then you're debuffing people to strike last, that's going to be so annoying with Bell of Doom. Oh god, like it's such a headache. There's going to be a range of Skaven Warpstone addicts out there that's just going to bring 200 clan rats one day, and that's what we're going to see.
I don't think it's the most viable, to be honest. I think you can do it. I think you can do it, but
Someone
I
do
would
it, please.
look. I wouldn't advise it. I think I think you definitely lack the punch. Like you're playing the volume game, and you're going to lack the punch, but it can be done. I just want at this moment, I just want to pour one out for my homies, Eshin. I feel like there's no love on Eshin. Like,
Ah,
where is the love? Like, that is the thing that would get me into Skaven is more Eshin love. So,
yes, I very hope so that there's going to be some Eshin new models. For those who are fully into Eshin still isn't bad, even though we didn't get a little like sub faction. I keep forgetting.
the
We used
battle
battle
formation.
formation. Yeah,
Yeah, battle formation.
we didn't get a Eshin battle formation. It's on the Deathmaster War Scroll, and it's supported with the Verminlord Deceiver, and it's great. It's actually great. The thing is, you just need to have a lot of Night Runners.
They need to give them some love. Come on, Games Workshop, sort
Yeah,
yourself out. So
please.
Bruce has gotten 2 lists. It's getting late. And I actually got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to book my Adepticon hotel. So it's 10 o'clock at night now. I'm losing the plot. So we're going to quickly go through these lists, and I want to hear what Bruce's thinking was. So the first list we're going to go through is primarily focused. So Bruce and I first set the challenge to say, what does a Stormcast and a Skaven list look like if we took everything from the box and then we added around it, right? So if you're starting Skaven and you're buying the Skaven Tide box, and you get yourself those clan rats and the Grey Seer and the rat ogres and all the things, right? What might a list look like? So this is the first list, and then we'll go to like all cuffs are off. What does a Bruce list look like? So you've gone Skaven, obviously. You've gone the Scryer battle formation. You've gone your Scryer spells, your Scryer manifestations. You've got your Verminlord Warbringer in 1 regiment without any troops. You have a 2nd regiment, which is Grey Seer, 20 clan rats, 3 rat ogres, and a warp fire thrower. You've got your Claw Lord on Gnarl Beast, 20 clan rats, and 20 storm vermin in regiment 3. And then regiment 4 is your Warlock Engineer, your 3 warp block Jezzails, and the rattling warp blaster, that new little sexy war machine. So what was your thinking, and like, what does this list do, at a very high level, other
Yep.
than like, it's your box, it's the Skaven Tide box?
Yeah. So the good thing about it is that you get the Skaven type box, and if you have these units as well, I think it'll be great. The reason why is that you got Warpcog Convocation for its battle formation, and that would buff your Jezzails, your Rattling Blaster, your Warp Fire Thrower, your Warlock Engineer. Those guys themselves do a ton of damage. So your Jezzails are sniping; they're able to shoot heroes that's still within Lookout Sir. Your Rattling Blaster, you're just gonna go ham, be a gambling man, and start throwing dice. And your Warp Fire Thrower, as I said before, he's a really nice guy. 2d6 amount of attacks, twos on 4s, but you can buff it to +1 to wound. It's crazy because not only that, you can put him next to the clan rats, and then he cannot be shot unless you're within 9. Within 9 is like very close. Most likely he's not going to be shot. So pretty much this death ball, you kind of want them in a group like a Death Star, and then your Verminlord Warbringer and the Clan Rats, the Storm Vermin, the Claw Lord of Norbase, they're at the front, just stopping your opponent from getting in. And the Claw Lord is supported by the Storm Vermin, which is reinforced, and the rallying is pretty nice just in general, because it's different from 3.0. You're not looking for 6s anymore; you're looking for 4s. And it also gives the Claw Lord on Norbeast 5-up ward. Yeah. The Verminlord Warbringer in general, he hits very hard, and he's got a special ability where you can pick up to 2 Verminous units, and they can, if you've already used an all-out defense or all-out attack, they can also still do that ability as well. But it does cost CP. But pretty much the aspect of the list that you're seeing is that we're Scryer, but we're also still Verminous, and pretty much you got a balance of that, and you got shooting and melee at the same time.
Do you remember what artifact and heroic trait you picked? I forgot to put it on this list.
Oh yes.
Do you
Um,
recall?
so I made a very safe list on the Verminlord Warbringer. I gave him the bodyguard, the 4-up bodyguard, and then the foul hide, just so it's so hard for him to die. Um, Unfortunately, Ijasa still spear of death. And 8 damage. Oh, she like just one shot me, just one shot. And not only that, like Injasa comes down anywhere from the sky, 3d6 charge. Let's go. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
The one thing I'll call out here for the folks who might play their friends who split the box is that ball of death there. Regiment 4 was really scary to me. So the warlock engineer, the 3 Jezzails, and the warp blaster. The thing that saved my backside is the prosecutors, the little angel winged people. They do a 3d6 charge. So and because there's no unleash hell, Bruce was able to give me a spot where I could go into the warplock Jezzails. I have a really good shooting attack with those prosecutors. With the 3d6 charge coming in from 9 inches, I could get into them. And because they can't unleash hell, there's so little things he can do against me. Obviously, you can cover fire and things like that, but like if you're going to do this, protect it. I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say to you, because if you're very vulnerable, and that's a lot of points that are going to die pretty quickly. So just keep that in mind if you've got something like Stormcast. But obviously, in most armies, that's not a real issue.
Yeah, you got very good shooting. If you're against people that can deep strike, you'd have to like protect them a bit better. But that little power unit down there with the warp fire thrower, just keep them together and they'll be able to just shoot out anything really.
Yeah, and what you're going to see in the next list is you might swap out the engineer for the arch warlock, and then you can cover fire without that -1 to hit penalty, which is what the arch warlock provides. So that's something that you'll notice in Bruce's match playlist, where I said, Bruce, gloves are off, bring whatever you want, and this is something that was much more aligned to your current 3rd edition list. It's not quite, but like it was much more of the units that you like. So you've got your General's Regiment, which is the Verminlord Warpseer, who took Scurry Away and Warpstone Charm, which also had 6 Storm Fiends, so a reinforced unit in that regiment. You have the Master Molder in Regiment 2, which has the Hell Pit, 6 Rat Ogres, and 3 Rat Ogres. You have Regiment 3, which is the Arch Warlock and the Warp Fire Throwers. And both lists don't have any auxiliary units. So you are 3 drops in both of those. Oh, no, sorry, the first one was 4 drops. This one's 3 drops. And there's no auxiliaries, so there's no real risk of you giving away an extra command point because you've got more auxiliaries than your opponent. So good on you.
Yeah,
Bruce was
that,
never, yeah.
that's I think that's very important. Pretty much, we had a little discussion between me and coach, and it's like if you give auxiliary to your opponent, it's too much. Like them, like 1 extra CP each battle round is a world's difference apart. Yeah,
Let alone the underdog mechanic kicking in, giving you an extra CP. It's like it becomes really powerful.
yeah, it's very very powerful. So this list here, the Verminlord Warpseer, I didn't bring the Warbringer, even though the Warbringer does better damage. But I tried to utilize his War Scroll ability, where it's on a 4-up. He can choose a unit to strike last. I think strike last is very good. Very good. Scurry Away, Warpstone Charm. The idea is that if I decide to charge in with any of my supported units, like Rat Ogres or Storm Fiends, suddenly I'm making them +1 rend, like with whoever I target. So Storm Fiends, the melee combat ability, their melee combat is 4s on 2s, and then there's some rend there. But if they have like shooting a shooting lineup, it's no rend 2 damage. And if you got Warpstone Charm, you can potentially make it 1 rend, which is very good. You can make Rat Ogres -2 Ren for 2 damage. That's great too. The Hell Pit, you can make you can assist the Hell Pit, make it 3 Ren to 4 Ren based on his buffs. It's very good. The Verminlord Warpseer, we got to remember that he also it buffs the 3 claw steps ahead as well. So instead of the unit just moving its movement characteristic, it's +2 to the movement. So for example, your Rat Ogres, instead of moving 6, it's moving 8. So there is a lot of versatility with this Verminlord Warpseer. Yeah. So how I'd play this is that the Arch Warlock is a spellcaster. The Verminlord is a 2 spellcaster too. The Arch Warlock has a special ability where if you're wholly within 13 of the Storm Fiends, your cover fire does not get -1 to hit, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, that was it was really powerful. Obviously, you can't issue all out attack and cover fire at the same time, but
Yeah.
being able to just be on a flat profile was very valuable.
Yeah. And that's why the Storm Fiends are reinforced, so you can I would always try and save a CP, and it's like, oh, you want to come closer? Please come closer. You know.
And that's where 3 claw steps ahead, for example, would allow you to keep repositioning that Arch Warlock within the range of the Storm Fiends to do that ability if they kind of, if that is required. I think that's where it's such a good fail safe, the 3 claw steps ahead. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time, but pretty much the Warpfire Thrower assists in shooting with the Storm Fiends. You got to remember that the Rat Ogres also do shoot as well. So in our game, Coach did get into the Rat Ogres very quickly to like run them through, just to like put them down to like 2 models left or 1 model left very quickly. But the thing is, they do have shooting, so it's actually a pretty good shooting. 2d6 amount attacks, 4s on 3s -2 for 1 damage. So you got shooting kind of everywhere, and then you got the Master Molder. So the Master Molder can select a unit that's within combat range, so that's 3 inches, and you can make it +2 to charge in the charge phase. So I'll be running him next to the Hell Pit, next to the Rat Ogres, or next to the Storm Fiends, because they all have the Molder keyword, and it's just +2 to charge. And at the end of each turn, I get to heal a Molder unit wholly within 13 for D3. Storm Fiends have the Molder keyword. Hell Pit, Rat Ogres have the Molder keyword. Like, it's the Master Molder is pretty good. Like, I like him a lot.
It's very good. You've always been a fan of the Master Molder, to be honest.
Yeah, it's true.
I've got one final question for you, Bruce, and I can't let you get away with it because you have been a big Thanquol fanboy for a long time. How do you feel about our boy Thanquol in 4th edition? Double caster, 5 up ward, 14 health, heals D3 at the end of every turn, has a nice spell that allows you to shut off commands and do a bit of damage, +1 casting. So it's a nice little utility piece. Like, it's a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, he's not the greatest shooter, he's not the greatest combat, but it brings a lot of versatility, and the spell casting is nothing to not shrug about. How do you feel about Thanquol?
I like Thanquol very much. So everybody who's worried about Thanquol right now, I think you're good. I think for his value, he's there as well. So just trust me on this. His value is very good. He's a 2 caster, +1 to cast, and he's got an innate War Scroll like spell cast where it's like, so the range is 13. You select a unit. If the cast goes off, I think it's a 7, and then
I think it's a 7.
That unit that you select cannot use commands. You just shut down all commands. So and commands are so important in this new iteration. You got 4 commands only. You don't get any more when the turn moves over. 4 commands for life, and then suddenly that unit cannot receive anything. It's done. And then if you in your opponent's turn decide to cast another spell to try and do it again, like -1, so that just puts you back to a 0 bonus. That's fine.
And I'll
He's still sorry. Go ahead.
No. I
Yeah,
was just going to
so
reinforce. I was just going to reinforce your point and say that I did that to you with the Tempestors, where the Tempestors have the same ability where if they shoot you on a 3-up or something, you can't use a command in the combat phase.
yeah, in the
So
combat phase.
shutting down all that defense just really ramps up that defense than the Ren conversation we were having earlier. So that is a really good ability.
It's so good because we only have all out defense now in the in the combat, in the shooting, and you're stopping me from doing that. Like I can't save my unit anymore.
No.
So Thankful having that ability itself, he's the only one that has that ability. I think he's high value right there. He is a bit of jack of all trades. He's got shooting here, he's got melee there, but the fact that his melee is 4 on 2s, 6 attacks, 4s on 2s, -2 rend for 3 damage. I think it's still good. Like I wasn't a believer in 4s on 2s, but coach got me there, man. Like I'm a big believer. 4s on 2s better than 4s on 3s.
Yeah, having the wound roll of a 2 and like it's so good because not a lot of people have that -1 to wound unless you're in the unless you're going to be in the mirror match, which very possibly could happen. There's not a lot of like things like the bell out there. So wounding
Yeah.
on 2s is incredible. And you just got to reserve that all out attack command ability. Just have it always in your bank, right?
Yeah, and what coach did a lot as well was he would use a CP to cast a prayer in my turn. So he's banking up points for prayers so that he's always rolling on prayers. He keeps building that up.
Yeah, that's a really good
Yeah.
call, like for a corn or a daughters player, and because there's actually no real trade off, right, with prayers. Because if I roll a 1 in a prayer, I just lose some ritual points. But if I roll anything else, I'm just banking it up to unleash potentially a super prayer. So, um, yeah, it's a really good call. Or like a counter charge. Like how cool is it if you were able to shut off commands and then know that they can't countercharge
Yeah,
you, so you get to dictate the flow of combat.
yeah. You can approach safely. Sometimes it's like you deep strike in, and then you know that the guy can't retreat out. I mean, like redeploy out. Sorry,
Redeploy.
yeah, it's very good. Like so, everybody who's looking at Thankful and worried, he's there. He's up there, guys. He's
You'll
also
have to
Master
bring him.
Mortar as well. Oh, sorry, not Master Mortar. Sorry, he's Master Clan.
Master
So
Clan. Yeah, he's
yeah, you can build
yeah,
his regiment in any way you want.
bring him next time. Let's see what it's like.
Yeah,
We
I
haven't
will.
tried him. Any final thoughts, Bruce? Like, this has been great. I appreciate your time. Guys, just remind you, one, we are recording before the faction packs are available on Warcom. So there is a chance that they are updated or tweaked. We are releasing before points. We haven't talked points. Just know that the 2 lists that we've shared are match play legal. We can't talk about them at this particular point. But we definitely do know them. So everything we've been playing has been match play legal, but things could possibly change. The last thing is obviously, depending on when you're listening to this, there may have been erratas or FAQs that have clarified some of the things we've said. So hopefully we haven't been too controversial. Hopefully, what we've said is still true when we release the video, but our goal here is not to know everything. This is based on our 3 games of match play experience playing with Skaven, and obviously tapping into Bruce's wealth of knowledge playing from 3rd edition and bringing those assumptions and those experiences with him. So hopefully you are feeling confident and capable and getting some clarity around how you start building a Skaven list in 4th edition. But Bruce, I'm going to give you the final thing. Anything else you want to share to the clans?
I think in general, the new iteration of 4.0, where we've kind of reduced damage, is a great scene. Like we didn't want to see those 2s on 2s all the time anymore. And Skaven does feel more like 4s on 5s and 4s on 3s. It's how you balance it. It feels good. And we do have more of the side to Skaven where we're just shooting. It's just like I'm just gonna I'm just gonna fully charge my weapons and try and shoot you off the board. And it's a new flavor to the game in general. I like it very much.
Actually, last question then. What's
Mm.
your favorite moment been in the last 3 games that we've played? So outside of the Hellpit Abomination and the regeneration, and in fact, I might even release a short. I recorded a small little video. I'll put on YouTube Shorts, and I'll share it as well. It like literally in
That
that
was
moment,
so good. Yeah.
it was so good. Like I high fived you. Like I'm like
Yeah.
mad respect. Like that was
Yeah.
good. But outside of that, has there been another moment in the last three games that have really stood out to you?
I think in general, everybody will have to wrap their heads around that you can redeploy whenever you want, and you can countercharge. And I think that in general feels so epic. It absolutely blows my mind that you have that capability. And how back then it's like, oh, if I get the second turn, then I'm just hoping for a double, and I'll end the game and we go have a beer. Like trying to double turn somebody is not a thing anymore. Like you have to really set yourself ahead to attempt to double turn, so that you don't, because you're gonna definitely not be able to do your battle tactic. The game is different now, so you kind of want to take the first turn and then just kind of keep that same momentum. Take the first turn, take the second, but it's so different. I feel it feels great not getting double turned all the time.
Yeah, and we did it. Like we've been
Yeah,
testing and playing different things, right? Just to see like what happens if I do the double turn, like and there's still situations where the double turn does make sense. Like there was a game
yeah,
where you played and you had to take the double just to stay in the game. But there's also been plenty of times where you're like, you know what, I'm happy to give it away because I don't want to
yeah.
not score the battle tactic. But for me, I thought you were about to tease me because I've done 2 counter charges with Fulminators and both of them have failed. I was like a 5-inch counter
Yes.
charge. I failed 2 5-inch
Yeah,
counter charges. There was a battle tactic I played in our last game where I had to kill the Claw Lord, and I had a Fulminator go into a Claw Lord on the
yeah,
charge. We even shot at it,
yeah.
and it
He
survived on
survived.
1
He
wound, so I
survived.
failed the battle
And,
tactic.
and then I'm saving on a 6-up, and I roll that 6, and he's just like, oh my god, this
But
guy.
also,
Yeah.
there's been so many fun
Uh,
little moments that have popped up throughout the game, whether it's worked in my favor or worked against me.
yeah,
I think win, lose, or draw, we've had 3 really good games. So
yeah,
one, testament to you, but 2, I think we've both enjoyed 4th edition so
yeah.
far.
Fourth edition feels great. The change is very big, especially the um the mindset of where everyone's like, I want to take the second turn. I want to take the second turn. It's not like that anymore. The CP is so important, very very so important nowadays. And the underdog mechanic, it works, man. It's good, and you can utilize it, like you can utilize it really well, where you can decide to purposely try and lose only 1 point, and then so like let's say like coach is 10 and I'm 9, I purposely lose 1 so that I can be the underdog. Yeah. So
There's some good stuff in there. There is some good stuff.
yeah, very good. I like this. I like this 4.0 and the future that it holds.
Any shout outs to your crew? I know your boy John might want to appreciate a shout out. Any
slave
love you want to?
Slave to Darkness, guys. I hope you guys are cheering. Uh, that's all I gotta say.
All right,
Yeah.
Bruce, this has been an absolute pleasure. Are you on social at all? Like, if people want to message you and like, hey, like, are you on like any of the Facebook groups or
No,
Twitter
no,
or anything?
no, not
Nah,
really. I'm just near my my local clubs. That's all. Miranda, Dice Arcade, Combat Company. You
don't worry
guys,
about that.
you guys may see every around.
Most of the internet we're watching this are like from overseas. So they're like,
Ah.
oh, all right, you'll go burying in. But I look, this has been great. I've appreciated your insights. I have been actually really impressed with like your knowledge as well. You've been able to rattle off war scrolls like immediately off the top of your head. So again, testament that Bruce knows what he's talking about. But leave us a comment in the comment section if you have looked at your faction pack and you think there's some things that we haven't talked about. Certainly, we haven't delved that deep into Pestilence. We really didn't talk a lot about Eshin. There's, definitely we're very high on Molder, but I think there's still a lot of unexplored territory. And if you want to talk more, my Discord obviously has a massive Skaven community. So come in, talk War Scrolls, talk list building, play TTS with us. There's probably going to be a lot of Wild West stuff happening as we explore 4th edition and our battle packs. But Bruce, thank you for your time. Everyone, thank you for listening and joining in. And don't forget to leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AoS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a double one on a spellcast.